Let me save her or you'll watch her die. Step back, inmate. You're not a doctor.
15 former inmates with prison tattoos covering their arms stood in the emergency room entrance when the pregnant woman's screams echoed through the hallway. Dr. Marcus Webb, with the scars of 8 years in the federal penitentiary still marking every line of his weathered face, pushed through the crowd of paramedics. The medical degree he'd earned behind bars meant nothing to the security guard blocking his path. What he saw in that moment made his blood run cold. A woman, 32 weeks, pregnant, convulsing on the floor while a young resident stood frozen with fear. But what nobody knew was that Marcus had delivered 47 babies in the prison medical wing, all high risk, all successful. What happened in the next 17 minutes not only saved 2 lives, but exposed a truth about judgment that an entire city needed to learn. This is the story of how a man society threw away became the only one who could save what everyone else had given up on. You ever imagine that someone with the darkest past could have the steadiest hands? That's exactly what happened with Marcus, and what he discovered that day completely changed everything about how we see second chances. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and stay with me until the end. Because what happened in this story nobody was prepared to see, and you can be sure you'll never look at a person by their past the same way again. Sarah Mitchell, 28 years old, 7 months, pregnant, was dying. The contractions had started 3 hours earlier at her small apartment in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. Sharp, stabbing pains that felt like her body was tearing itself apart. She'd called her doctor, who told her to come in immediately. But when she arrived at Desert Valley Medical Center, the triage nurse took one look at her Medicaid card and told her to wait. Sarah sat in that waiting room for 2 hours, her hands clutching her swollen belly, watching as people who arrived after her were called back first. A businessman with a sprained ankle, a teenager with a skateboard injury, a woman with a migraine. Each time Sarah stood up, dizzy with pain, begging for help, the receptionist said the same thing. "We'll call you when we're ready. Sit down." Nobody believed her when she said something was terribly wrong. Nobody listened when she described the bleeding that had started in the taxi. Nobody cared that her blood pressure had been dangerously high at her last appointment. The system had failed her in every way that mattered. That's when Sarah heard voices outside. Loud voices, strong voices, men who sounded like they'd lived through hell and come out the other side. She dragged herself to the automatic doors and saw them. 15 men, all wearing matching dark blue shirts with Second Chance Medical Outreach printed on the chest. Every single one had visible tattoos crawling up their necks, covering their arms, marking them as men who'd done time. Leading them was Marcus Webb, 6'2", 45 years old, with close-cropped grey hair and eyes that had seen too much suffering. The tattoo on his neck, partially covered by his collar, was a medical caduceus wrapped in barbed wire. On his forearms, dates were inked in prison-style numbers. The day he went in, the day he got out, the day he delivered his first baby behind bars. Marcus had been a third-year medical resident at Johns Hopkins when his life fell apart. His younger brother, Danny, got involved with prescription drug dealers. When Danny overdosed, Marcus snapped. He tracked down the dealer, confronted him, and in the struggle, the man died. Marcus was 29 years old when the judge sentenced him to 15 years for voluntary manslaughter. He served 8 before parole, but prison didn't break Marcus. It rebuilt him. In the Federal Penitentiary Medical Unit, he worked under Dr. Helen Chen, a volunteer physician who saw something in the inmate everyone else had. Written off, she taught him, trained him, fought the system to let him complete his medical education through correspondence courses. By the time Marcus walked out of those gates at 37 years old, he had his medical degree and a promise to himself Never again would he let anger control him, and never again would he waste the gift of knowledge. Getting his medical license was impossible. Every state board rejected his applications. Criminal history incompatible with medical practice, they said. So Marcus did what he had to do. He started an unlicensed medical outreach program for people the system ignored. Former inmates who were now EMTs, nurses who'd lost their licenses, paramedics who believed in second chances. They called themselves Second Chance Medical Outreach, and they operated in the gray zone between legal and necessary. When Marcus saw Sarah collapse in the hospital entrance, every instinct he'd honed over 8 years in a prison medical ward fired at once. He was at her side in 3 seconds, his hands already checking her pulse, his eyes scanning for symptoms. Seizure, eclampsia, maybe minutes from death, and the baby with her. "I'm a doctor," Marcus said to the security guard who immediately stepped in front of him. "This woman needs immediate medical attention." The guard looked at Marcus's tattoos, at the 15 men behind him who all looked like they'd stepped out of a cell block, and laughed, actually laughed. "Sure you are, buddy. And I'm a brain surgeon. Step back. Listen to me very carefully," Marcus said, his voice dropping to that tone he'd used to command respect in the prison yard without violence. "This woman has eclampsia. She's seizing. Her blood pressure is probably over 180. If she doesn't get magnesium sulfate in the next 5 minutes, she and her baby will die. Now get out of my way or explain to her family why you stopped someone from saving her life." The guard hesitated. That hesitation cost 30 seconds. Sarah's body went rigid, her back arching as another seizure took hold. Foam appeared at her lips, her eyes rolled back. Marcus didn't wait for permission. He dropped to his knees, positioned Sarah on her left side, and shouted to his team, "Carlos, medical bag, now! Jenny, call 911. Tell them we have eclamptic seizure, 32 weeks pregnant, need emergency C-section team ready. Rick, get me anyone in this hospital with a medical degree, now!" The 15 former inmates exploded into action. Like a military unit, Carlos Rodriguez, who'd served 6 years for drug trafficking and now worked as an EMT, had the medical bag open in seconds. Jenny Pham, former prescription fraud convict turned registered nurse, was already on her phone. Rick Santos, ex-armed robber who'd become a paramedic, stormed through the hospital doors, shouting for a doctor. Marcus worked with the precision of someone who'd delivered babies in cells barely 6 feet wide, with equipment that was outdated and supplies that were rationed. His hands moved across Sarah's body, checking vitals, timing the seizure, positioning her to protect the baby. Every second counted. Every movement mattered. "Who the hell are you people?" A young resident finally emerged from the back, eyes wide with shock at the scene unfolding in his waiting room. "I'm Dr. Marcus Webb," Marcus said without looking up. "I need magnesium sulfate, 4 grams a V push, then infusion at 1 gram per hour. This patient has severe preeclampsia, progressing to eclampsia. She needs an emergency C-section within the hour, or we lose them both." The resident stared at the tattoos on Marcus's neck. "You're not a doctor. I'm the only person here who knows what they're doing," Marcus interrupted. "And if you don't get me that magnesium sulfate in the next 60 seconds, you're gonna watch this woman die in your waiting room. Is that what you want?" Something in Marcus's voice cut through the prejudice. Maybe it was the absolute certainty. Maybe it was the way his hands never stopped moving, professional and skilled. Or maybe it was Sarah's body convulsing on the floor, a sight too horrible to deny. The resident ran. He came back with the medication and a crash cart. Behind him came Dr. Patricia Morrison, 48 years old, chief of obstetrics, a woman who delivered 3,000 babies in her career. She took one look at the scene, at Marcus's hands expertly managing the seizure, at the organized chaos of his team, and made a split-second decision that would define the rest of her life. "You," she said to Marcus, "come with me. Bring her." Marcus and his team lifted Sarah onto the gurney. As they rushed her through the hospital corridors, Dr. Morrison asked, "Where'd you train?" Hopkins, Marcus said, until I went to prison for 8 years, finished my degree inside, delivered 47 babies in the prison medical ward, lost none of them. Dr. Morrison didn't slow down. Can you assist in a C-section? I've performed 12, all successful. Under what authority? The authority of being the only person with surgical training in a federal prison 3 hours from the nearest hospital. They burst through the doors of the operating room. The surgical team was already scrubbing in, but they froze when they saw Marcus, his arms covered in prison ink, his team of tattooed former convicts wheeling in the patient. "Dr. Morrison," one of the nurses protested, "you can't seriously be letting these people just saved this woman's life while we let her sit in the waiting room for 2 hours. Dr. Morrison snapped, "Now scrub in or get out." The surgery was brutal and beautiful. Sarah's blood pressure was dangerously high, the baby in distress, every second a gamble with 2 lives. But Marcus's hands were steady. 8 years of delivering babies in the worst conditions imaginable had given him something no prestigious residency could teach, the ability to work. With nothing and still save everything. He assisted Dr. Morrison with the precision of a surgeon who'd earned his skills in hell. When the baby emerged, not breathing, Marcus's training took over. He cleared the airway, administered gentle ventilation, his fingers working with a speed that came from having done this in cells with broken equipment and no backup. The baby gasped, then cried. That sound, that perfect, furious sound of new life, filled the operating room. Sarah opened her eyes. 20 minutes later in recovery, the first thing she saw was her daughter, pink and screaming, wrapped in a blanket. The second thing she saw was Marcus, still in surgical scrubs, his tattooed arms visible, his face exhausted but smiling. "Who are you?" Sarah whispered. "Someone who knows what it's like when the system gives up on you," Marcus said. "And someone who decided that would never happen to anyone else if I could help it." The story exploded across Phoenix within hours. Local news picked it up first. Former inmate saves mother and baby while hospital staff stood by. Then national news, then international. The video from the hospital security cameras showed everything. Marcus dropping to his knees to help Sarah while the security guard blocked him. His team working with military efficiency, the residents hesitating while Sarah seized. The comment section divided like a canyon. Half the people wrote, "Once a criminal, always a criminal. He shouldn't have been near a hospital." The other half wrote, "This man has more character than most doctors I've met. He paid his debt, let him practice medicine." But the most powerful comment came from Sarah herself. She went on local television, her baby daughter in her arms, and said, "Everyone in that hospital saw me dying. Only the men society threw away tried to save me. I trust Marcus Webb with my life. I trust him with my daughter's life. And if that makes me crazy, then we need more crazy in this world." Dr. Patricia Morrison faced disciplinary action from the hospital board for allowing an unlicensed practitioner to assist in surgery. Her response was to submit her resignation and join Marcus's Second Chance medical outreach program. Within a week, 3 other doctors followed her. Within a month, 15. The Medical Board of Arizona was forced to review Marcus's case. The hearing was packed. Sarah was there, her daughter in her arms. The 15 members of Marcus's team were there, all in dress. Shirts that couldn't quite hide their prison tattoos. 47 letters from former patients Marcus had treated in prison were submitted, all describing the man who'd saved their lives when they had nothing and no one. The board voted 7-4 to grant Marcus a conditional medical license. He could practice under supervision for 2 years. After that, if his record was clean, full reinstatement. Marcus stood in the center of the Phoenix Community Health Clinic 6 months later. It was a converted warehouse in the poorest part of the city, a place where people without insurance, without hope, without anywhere else to go could receive care. The sign above the door read, "Second Chance Medical Center. Everyone deserves healing." The team had grown to 42 people, 23 were former inmates who'd trained in various medical fields. 19 were doctors, nurses, and medical professionals who believed that a person's worst day shouldn't define their entire life. They treated everyone, the homeless, the addicted, the undocumented, the forgotten. Marcus's tattoos were still there, the barbed wire caduceus on his neck, the prison dates on his forearms. But he'd added something new. On his left wrist, in elegant script, were the words Sarah and Grace with a date. The day he delivered his 48th baby, the one that changed everything. 3 years later, the Second Chance Medical Center had treated over 18,000 patients. The recidivism rate for the former inmates working there was 0%. Not one had returned to prison. Not one had given up. The center had expanded to 3 locations across Arizona and was being replicated in 4 other states. Marcus was 48 now, with more gray in his hair and more hope in his heart than he'd ever thought possible. He still worked 18-hour days. He still took the cases nobody else wanted. He still remembered what it felt like to be judged not by who you are, but by who you were. On the 3rd anniversary of saving Sarah's life, Marcus stood in front of 500 people at a medical conference in Phoenix. Doctors, nurses, medical students, all gathered to hear about the Second Chance model. He looked out at the audience and spoke from a place deeper than medical knowledge. 8 years ago, I was inmate number 7342 in a federal prison, Marcus began. I had killed a man. I had destroyed my career. I had lost everything that mattered. And society looked at me and said, "You will always be what you did on your worst day." He paused, his eyes finding Sarah in the front row, her daughter Grace now 3 years old and healthy. But I learned something in that prison. I learned that the worst thing you've ever done doesn't have to be the last thing you ever do. I learned that change isn't a moment, it's a choice you make every single day. And I learned that some of the most broken people have the strongest ability to heal others, because we know what it's like to need healing. The room was silent. Today, I'm asking you to look at the person society has written off, the addict, the felon, the person with the criminal record and the tattoos and the past they can't erase. And I'm asking you to see what I saw in that prison medical ward: potential, humanity, the chance for redemption that we all deserve. Marcus held up his tattooed wrists. These don't come off. My past doesn't disappear, but my present is real. My work is real. The lives we save are real. And if we can judge people by who they choose to become, rather than who they once were, we might just save more than patients. We might save souls. Standing ovation. 500 medical professionals on their feet, applauding a man who 8 years earlier couldn't have entered that conference except as a cautionary tale. Sarah stood up, Grace in her arms, and the little girl pointed at Marcus. "That's the doctor who saved us, Mommy." "Yes, baby," Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. "That's the doctor everyone laughed at, the doctor they said wasn't real, the doctor who knew that saving lives matters more than looking respectable." Marcus Webb continued practicing medicine. The tattoos stayed, the past stayed, but every day he made the choice to be more than his worst moment. And every life he saved was proof that redemption isn't just possible, it's necessary. From the deepest pit, you can still see stars, and stars guide you upward, always. Now answer me something. Do you believe people can truly change? Write yes or no in the comments and tell me why. I want to read every single one. And if this story touched your heart and made you rethink your judgments, leave a like now. This isn't just a button. It's you saying, "I believe people can change." Tell me in the comments, what marked you most in this story? Was it when Marcus fought to help Sarah, when the hospital laughed at him, or when he finally got his license? And tell me, what city are you watching from? I want to see how far Marcus and Sarah's story is reaching, right here, watching from City State. If you love stories that show the human side of people, that show real redemption, that aren't afraid to talk about real issues, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications so you don't miss any story that will move you and make you see the world differently. Are you crying? Normal. I cried too. Stories like this remind us that past doesn't define forever. Change is possible, and second chances aren't favors. They're rights for those who pay their debt and prove transformation through action. Write in the comments, redemption is possible. If you believe this, changed my view. If this story transformed you, or I knew someone like this, if you have a similar story. Now click on the next video I prepared for you. It's another story that will hit you hard. See you there. A hug, and remember, judge less, understand more. Past doesn't define, present builds.